Good morning, dear students. Welcome to the class. Hope you all are keeping safe at home and revising what is taught in different subjects. And also I suppose that you are completing your notes which are given by downloading it from the school's website www.lfsraptinagar.ac.in. Well, in the last session, we have started with a new chapter, that is chapter number 5, Adaptation. In this chapter, let's quickly revise what you have already learned. You have learned about habitat, where you have learned that habitat is the place where an organism lives. The surroundings, where the organism lives is known as its habitat. The habitat has mainly two components, the abiotic component and the biotic component. Abiotic component is the non-living component of the habitat, which includes air, water, soil, sunlight or temperature. Then the biotic components of a habitat are the living components of a habitat. For example, plants, animals and other microorganisms. Then we have also discussed that what is the need of a habitat. Why do organisms need a habitat? So let me tell you that the organisms, they need a habitat because the habitat provides a safe place for the organism to keep its eggs and young ones remain protected in that safe place. And also it provides a place to hide from predators. Means it is a place where the organism can keep itself safe from the enemies. And also the habitat provides the organism to escape from the danger. Means if there is a habitat, definitely if there is any danger, blending with the surrounding, the organism can escape from the danger. I gave the example of chameleon, where I have told you that chameleon changes its color according to its surrounding, so that it blends its color with the surrounding, and because of that it is able to escape from the danger of enemy. Then we have discussed about adaptation, the presence of certain specific features or habitats, you can say, which enables a plant or an animal to adjust and live in its surrounding, is considered to be adaptation. Adaptation is the presence of certain specific features or habits which enables a plant or an animal to adjust and live in its surrounding. That is what is called as adaptation. Then we have discussed about the aquatic habitat, where you have learned the three varieties of aquatic plants, that is the submerged aquatic plants, floating aquatic plants, and also you have learned about emerged aquatic plants. Then in detail we have done about adaptations in aquatic animal. We have discussed about fish, where you have learned that fishes, they can breathe underwater with the help of the organ called gills. And you have also learned that fishes, they cannot survive out of water. There is no possibility of life, or there is no survival of life for a fish out of water. The fishes, they lay a lot of eggs, and the complete body of fishes is covered with scales. What is the use of these scales? The scales present on the body of a fish helps it to save or protect the internal organs. As you know, the fishes are very delicate, their body is very delicate. The organs which are inside it definitely must be much more delicate than the outer body. So these scales, they protect the body of fish. Then fishes have fins also present on their body. The middle fin is present, that is flat, and there is tail fin. Or these fins help the fish in changing the direction while movement is there while they are moving in the water. Then you have learned the fishes have streamlined body shape, that is their body is tapering or boat shaped. Their body is tapering at both the ends. That is actually like a boat shape. So that we have discussed in the previous session. Today we'll be discussing about another habitat, that is desert habitat, the adaptations in the desert habitat, the the desert animals and plants, what all characteristics they possess and what all features they adapt to survive in the hot climatic conditions of the deserts. Let's discuss. So we'll be learning about desert habitat. Well, before you have learned about adaptation, and you have learned that adaptation is a process where a species or an organism gradually becomes better to adjust to its environment. It attains certain features or habits by which it is able to survive in its habitat. So, the meaning of adaptation implies how a species changes its body and behavior to better suit its natural environment. Well, what is natural environment? As you know, the natural environment is the environment or the surrounding in which we live, and it is an ever-changing feature of the planet Earth. We have seen so many changes around us by this time. From childhood till the date, we have seen so many changes. So, the environment is always changing, and the process of adaptation ensures that the species which adapts the most survives. Survival of the fittest. Those who can adjust to the environment, to the habitat, will be able to survive, and those who are not adapting certain characteristic features to survive in a habitat, their survival is not possible. So, let me explain you with an example. As you can see in this module, a hand is visible, and you must have noticed also sometimes that in humans, long hours of exposure to the sun results in a tan. As you can see, two colors are visible on this hand. The upper part has a different color and the lower part shows dark color. So that is actually tanning. The skin becomes dark due to exposure to heat and ultraviolet rays. And this exposure to heat and ultraviolet rays increases the cells present in the skin to increase the production of melanin. Melanin is the pigment which helps to absorb heat, and it protects the cell from these harmful rays. Hence, the process of tanning represents how our body adapts to the heat and ultraviolet radiations from the sun. If I talk about another example, you can see here a polar bear. Animals which live in extremely cold environments have thick fur and fat is present all around their body, and this fat and the fur provides an insulation to the body, means from the outer harsh climatic conditions, the inner delicate part of the body is protected with the help of this layer of fur and fat. And actually, this is an adaptation by polar bears that helps them to survive in the harsh winter where the food is scarce, very less in amount in those areas. The amount of food which they get is comparatively very less. So to search for the food, in search of the food, they need to move around, and the climatic conditions are not so favorable. So that is why, because of this thick layer of fur and fat, the inner body of these animals is protected, and because of this reason they are able to easily move around and search for their food. Now when we talk about desert, many of you must have seen the desert also. So in the desert you must have observed that the climate is very hot. The desert has extreme temperature fluctuation. During the daytime it's extremely hot, but as it comes down, as it is the night time, slowly the temperature lowers. So in the daytime the desert is very hot, but when we talk about night time, it's comparatively cold enough. It also has very limited water bodies, and also the amount of rainfall is also scarce. So there is short rainy season followed by a long dry season in the desert areas. So we can say that there is excessive shortage of water in the desert areas. But there are many animals and plants that are well adapted to life in the desert. As you can see here, one of the examples is cactus. It's a desert plant. So both the plants as well as animals, they have certain specialized characters. Their structures are modified, and these modified structures in the plants as well as in the animals only help the organism to survive in such adverse environmental conditions. Now, in this plant adaptation in deserts, we are going to learn about a special plant. As you can see in the module, it is showing a cactus plant. This cactus plant is generally found in desert areas. There are varieties of cactus, as you can see here. One is Gobi cactus and the other one is different from this Gobi cactus. So these cactus are found in the desert area, and therefore these plants which grow in the desert area, we call them as xerophytes. And the adaptation is termed as xeric adaptation. Why do we call it xeric adaptation? The reason behind it is the desert plants live in extremely dry environment, and they show adaptation to conserve water, that is to save water, and also they store water. They save water and store water, and also their structures are modified so that they prevent loss of water. If we talk about the leaves in the land area, the leaves have stomata which helps in transpiration, that is loss of extra water that is present in the plant. But when we talk about these desert plants, the desert plants, they do not have such leaves. Their leaves are modified, and these modified leaves help to conserve water, store water, and also prevent from loss of water. Then the desert plants have long roots which help them to absorb water deep under the ground. The desert plants have long roots, and these long roots help it to obtain water from the deeper layers of the soil. Then as you can see here, it's showing a cactus plant. As you can see, it takes very small surface area, and this small surface area minimizes evaporation. There will be very less or almost no evaporation. Then the leaves of the plant are converted into spines. They do not have leaves as we have leaves in the plants in the land area. Instead, they have spines instead of leaves. The stems, they can store water, and the roots of the cactus plants, they are widespread so that they can absorb or obtain water from deep under the soil. The stems of the cactus plant are helpful in the process of photosynthesis. In these cactus plants, it's not the leaves which help in photosynthesis. Instead, it is the stem of the plant which helps in the process of photosynthesis. And as you can see here, the spines, the needle-like sharp structure which you can see is the spine present in the cactus plant, and actually this spine is the leaf. The leaf is modified into spines. Why is it reduced to spines? Why it is converted to spines? The reason is to prevent the loss of water from the surface, and also these spines protect the plant against the herbivores. Definitely in the desert areas there must be herbivores also, and herbivores, as you know, they depend on plants for their food. So if they don't get food, their survival is not possible. And as you know, the plants growing in the desert areas, they are generally xerophytic plants. So if these plants are, the leaves of these plants are not converted into spines, they can be easily eaten up by the herbivores, and there won't be any vegetation left because it will be. Now let's talk about the characteristics found in the cactus plant. The plural of cactus is cacti. Well, the stem in the cactus is generally green, as you can see in the module, in the picture. The stem of the plant is green and spongy. The reason why it is spongy, because it stores water, it conserves water, and also it is helpful in the process of photosynthesis. The stem takes part in the process of photosynthesis, that is, it helps in preparing food by the process of photosynthesis. And the stem is also covered with a thick waxy coating. Why is it covered with a thin waxy coating? The reason why it is covered with a thin waxy coating is it prevents the loss of water and also helps to retain water, to keep the water safe for its use. Otherwise, if this waxy coating is not present, due to heat of the surrounding or of the sun, there will be loss of the water from the plant. So this waxy coating, it is a protection layer which does not allow the water of the stem of the plant to be lost through evaporation. Then the leaves are reduced to spines. As you can see in the module, the leaves are converted into needle-shaped structure. This is called as spine. Again, what is the use of this spines? The spines helps to reduce water loss through transpiration. As you have learned in the previous classes that water, the extra water is lost from the aerial parts of the plant. So the leaves are responsible for losing this extra water. But when we talk about desert plants, the desert plants cannot lose this water because already they have scarcity of water. So whatever amount of water they get, that is to be stored so that it can use it later. Then the roots of these plants. The roots of these plants are widespread, as you can see in this module. They are long enough so that it can penetrate deep into the soil. Why do they need to penetrate deep into the soil? Any idea? Okay, let me tell you. their root system is widespread so that they can collect water from large area. If it will be, the roots will be not widespread, it is in small area only, definitely the amount of water that is present in that small area only, that much will be available to the plant. But if this root is long and it is spread all around, whatever amount of water is present in that particular area, that can be taken up by the plant for its use. So, what you have learned about the cactus plant, the leaves are needle shaped. It is modified into needle shaped structure called as spines for reducing the surface area in contact with the air. So, through this way it is minimizing the loss of water by transpiration. And also the leaves have waxy coating. Why do they have waxy coating? So that it can prevent the loss of water through the leaves. And you have also learned that the roots are in large network, or they are widespread, so that they can easily penetrate deep into the soil and collect water from the large area. And also you have learned that the plant has large capacity to store water, which can be used up by the plant later. Now let's talk about the adaptations in desert animals. All of you must have seen a camel. It has certain characteristics. Camel has a long leg which keeps its body away from the hot sand. That is the adaptation found in the desert animal, camel. Then on its body, on the top, you can find a hump, which is a storehouse of fat. That is a food stored in its body. That is also an adaptation for camel to survive in hot deserts. And also it can store water in its body. That is its special character, that it can store water in its body. Now let's see the different adaptations which a camel has to survive in its habitat. The first adaptation is the two eyelashes. As you can see in the module, the camel has two eyelashes. The reason why it has two eyelashes, it is to stop the sand entering into the eyes. As you know, this animal is found in the desert area, and sometimes when there is when the wind blows at a very high speed, definitely the sand particles must be in the air. So there are chances that these particles may go into the eyes, and that will cause difficulty for the camel to move. So for that reason, these camels have special eyelashes which protect the eyes, the delicate eye, from the sand particles. It has two rows of long eyelashes, and the function of the eyelashes is to protect against blowing sand, and also it protects from the hot rays of the sun. Then another adaptation found in the camel is its hump. It is found on the top of on the upper part of its body. As you can see here in the module, there is a hump present. This is an adaptation. Fat is stored in the hump. And what is the function of this hump? It helps it to survive for longer periods without food. The food is stored in the form of fat in the hump, and that food is only giving the camel energy to travel long distances for longer periods of time. It can stay without food. Then another adaptation found in camel is its feet, the toes. As you can see here, it is showing padded feet. This is a very special adaptation found in camels. It has well padded wide feet. The reason, the function of these pads is the pads spread out when the camel places its feet on the ground. Well, you must have observed sometime maybe that when you walk over sand, our feet slips. So definitely there are chances that when camel is moving in the desert area where all around is sand only, there are chances that it may sink into the sand. So therefore it has this special padded feet which helps the camel from sinking into the sand. So the pads in the feet are spread out when the camel places its feet on the ground, and this prevents the camel from sinking into the sand. Then another adaptation found in the camel is patches on the knees. As you can see in the module, there are patches found on the knees. This is also an adaptation found in the camel. There is a thick leathery patch found on the knees, and what is the function of this patch? It protects it from getting burnt. When the camel is to kneel down on the sand, as you know, during the daytime, if it is because it is extreme hot, so definitely the sand particles must have become very hot. So when these camels are to kneel down, if their knees will come in contact with this with the hot sand, it may get burned. Therefore there is a special patch found on the knees which protect the knees from getting burnt when the camel kneels down on the hot desert sand. Then another adaptation found in camels is its long legs. The legs are strong enough and also they are long. Why? What is the function of it? It helps carry heavy loads over long distances, and also because of this long leg, the body of the camel is away from the hot sand. Just imagine if the leg of the camel is small. Definitely the hot rays of the hot sand may affect its body. It will be, if it is very close to the sand, definitely it will be burning sensation will be there. So this long leg of the camel helps the camel to keep its body away from the hot sand, and also it is so strong that it helps in carrying heavy loads over long distances. So with this we can conclude about the different adaptations that we see in camel. You have learned that it has 2 rows of long eyelashes which protects the eyes from the sand particles in case the wind blows, the sand particles may come into the eyes. So these eyelashes, the long eyelashes, helps to protect from the sand particles. Then you have learned about the legs, why the legs are long, so that it can stay away from the hot sand. Then it has thick leathery patches on the knees. What is the use of these leathery patches? When the camel kneels down on the sand, it may not get burnt because of these patches present on the knees. It is protected from the hot sand. Then it has broad, flat and leathery pad. This broad, leathery, padded feet of the camel helps the camel not to sink into the sand, because the sand is slippery. So this padded feet helps it not to sink into the sand. And then we have learnt about the hump. Hump is the storehouse of the fat. This fat is acting as the food and it provides energy to the camel when it is moving long distance. So when it is traveling for a longer distance carrying heavy loads, it may not need food, it will need energy to move, and because there are there is scarcity of plants in those areas, so it may not get food. So it is using this stored food to get energy. And also the camel has another special characteristic, that it can drink over 40 liters of water at a time, and this water is stored in its body, which can be used up later. Then another special characteristic of camel is it has thick lips. As you can see in the module also, their lips are thick. The reason why is it thick? Because it helps it to eat prickly desert plants like cacti. As you know, cacti, they have needle shaped spines on its stem. So if this camel is eating that plant, definitely this needle may hurt the camel. So this thick lips present in the camels helps it to eat the desert plant without hurting itself. Then there are other animals as well which are found in the desert areas. You can see here animals like rats and snakes. They do not have long legs like camel. Instead, rat and snakes, they stay in burrows deep in the sand, and when they are deep into the sand, they keep themselves away from the intense heat during the day. And during the daytime, you will not find these animals coming out of their burrows. They come out of their burrows only during the night time, because the night time the desert areas are cool enough. So with this we end up today's session. Some homework is given that you can check out in the school's website and complete it in your fair copies. Thank you. God bless you.